Hallelujah. In Exodus chapter 33, verse 16, we read, "For how shall it be known that I have found favor in your sight, I and your people? Is it not in your going with us, so that we are distinct, I and your people, from every other people on the face of the earth?" We see here Moses speaking to God. Now, God was upset with the people of Israel because they had sinned. They had made another idol. They had made a calf and began to worship that calf. And then God begins to tell Moses, "Take this people and go." He begins to tell them in Exodus chapter 33, verse 3, he says, "Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey, but I will not go up among you. I will not come with you." But then Moses begins to say in Exodus 33, verse 15, he said to him, "If your presence will not go with me, do not bring us up from here." You see, Moses knew the importance of God's presence. We know in the wilderness time, it was God who would cover them with his presence, with his glory, when they were walking through the wilderness. There was a pillar of fire that went ahead of them. It was God who was personally involved in their deliverance. It was God who was personally involved in taking care of them. It was the presence of God that made a difference. Even the enemies knew that it was God that was with these people. And that's why Moses declares, or Moses begins to say, "If you don't go with us, we are not going ahead." And then if the previous verse, in verse 14, it says, "My presence will go with you and I will give you rest." My presence will go with you and I will give you rest. You see, when God begins to go ahead of us, when God begins to carry us, when God begins to walk with us, it is then that we begin to find rest. You know, many a times we are searching for rest in wrong places. Sometimes we are searching for rest in alcohol, in drugs, in movies, in pornography, in sexual addictions. But we don't get rest there. We keep getting disturbed. For that moment, we may be joyful, but again, we get back into that same cycle. In Matthew 11, verse 28, Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are tired and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." You see, it is God who gives us that rest. When you begin to seek after the presence of God, when you begin to be a God seeker, you will begin to find rest. Moses knew it's his presence. It's the presence of God that makes the difference. Moses knew it. Moses knew that it was the presence of God that brought forth deliverance for the people of Israel from the land of Egypt. Moses knew that it was the presence of God that parted that Red Sea. Moses knew that it is God who provided manna from heaven. Moses knew it was God who made the difference. I want to tell you who's watching, it is God who makes the difference. If we begin to seek after God, if we begin to be God worshippers, I tell you, you will find rest. God bless you.